Welcome back to our live show on CBS 6. We've enjoyed featuring and sampling some great tasting recipes here on Virginia This Morning. Impossible Supreme Nachos are on today's virtual menu. Take a look.
Buckle your seatbelts. This recipe is a delight. We are joined today by Ausar AriAnkh for some magic in the kitchen with the kitchen magician. It's great to see you, Ausar.
Great to see you as well.
You've got an impossibly delicious recipe for us today. This one's going to be really a treat in so many ways.
Yes, the impossible part of it is that we're using the impossible meat, so it's a plant-based ground beef. So, it has less calories, less saturated fat, and it's healthier overall. So we're going to have a spin-off with those and make some supreme nachos with that impossible meat.
For anybody who hasn't tried the impossible meat before, this behaves in the same way as ground beef or ground pork?
Definitely. I'll show you what it looks like in its so-called raw state. So it looks just like how a ground beef would look. It cooks the same way, except it cooks really quickly. And one cool thing about it is that you don't see all of that oil floating around after you finish cooking it because it doesn't have the fat in it. Like when you go to the grocery store and they have that 80-20%, so it's 80% protein, 20% fat. And that oil you see floating around that you usually have to strain off is the fat. You don't get that with this product.
So keeping that in mind, Ausar, as you take that into the pan, do you have to put some oil in it to get started?
I put about a teaspoon of olive oil in the pan that's hot right now. So that's the only oil that you're going to need.
All right. So easy peasy. We'll start that first step.
Very easy. Okay. So what I have, as always, I have a nice hot pan. And I'm going to take the impossible beef and I'm going to go ahead and put it in there. And I'm going to take some diced red onion and I'm going to throw those in there with it so those can caramelize nicely and give that nice sweetness with it. Now with caramelization, it brings out the natural sweetness in the product, so the onions will have a sweet taste to them when it's all said and done. So I'm cooking these down and it's already pretty much at the midway point just from being in here about 25-30 seconds. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my seasoning, which consists of chili powder, cumin, a little bit of Himalayan sea salt, and oregano. Very simple. And I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some of that in there.
And you've been gracious enough to share that recipe with us. So we'll have that up on WTVR.com/VTM later today. So you can check out Ausar AriAnkh's delicious Impossible Nachos step by step.
Definitely. So this is getting there. This is almost there. And I'm going to show the audience what it looks like when it's cooked up. And you see how quickly it was done and how you don't have all of that oil floating around in the pan like you normally do when you're using ground beef. So we're almost there. It's one of those dishes that you can have, once you get the prep part of it done, you can have the dish ready in about 10 minutes. So that's the cool thing. I like to have dishes that I can show people how to make within 10 minutes. And they're like, wow, really? And then I'll actually show them. And they say, oh, yeah, you really can prepare that in 10 minutes. So this is done where we want it to be right now. I'm going to take the flame off. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. Looks just like that ground beef that you would make if you were making your own tacos or nachos. It cooks up the same exact way. So now what I have here is I have some tortillas that I had already fried off, and I layered them on the pan. And as you can see, they're not really overlapping much. It's a little bit of overlapping, but it's mostly a single layer. So the cheat code with this, if you want to have nice crispy nachos, you don't want to have them piled on top of one another, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to have nachos that some get some toppings, some don't. You're going to have inconsistent heating because some part has more product than others. So the more consistent it can be throughout the tray, the more uniform it'll cook. So what I have here is a combination of cheddar, Monterey Jack, and pepper jack cheese. I'm going to put a nice little layer first. So we got a nice little layer of cheese as so. You see that? Not much. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the impossible meat with the onions and I'm just going to sprinkle that. I'm going to evenly distribute that throughout the dish. So everyone at the party who gets a little bite won't feel left out,
I've been making a grievous error with my nacho prep, Ausar, because I would always just do the nacho chips and then start putting the toppings on. I'm realizing now that the cheese is what brings it all together.
Yep, the cheese adheres nicely to the chip, and then you put the other toppings that hold on to the top of the cheese now. So now when you pick it up, you see the gooiness because there's that cheese on the bottom. the toppings, and then more cheese. It holds it all together. It's like a nice little blanket tying it together. So I'm going to put a little bit more of that cheese on there now to sort of make that top layer. And what I'm going to do at this point is I have some roasted corn that I cut off the cob. I'm going to sprinkle some of that on there. I have some black beans, and I'm going to put the black beans on there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and flash this in the oven. It's the oven I have it set at 500, so it's not going to take much time, 1.5 minutes tops, and you have your product completely done. So as I said, it's a very simple dish. It doesn't take much time at all. And it's something that, you know, kids love it. You know, everyone pretty much loves nachos or tacos. So it's something that you can pull out if you have company coming over, and it doesn't take much time at all.
And this is that stage of the game, Ausar, where you get to add your favorites, right? If your family's really into the corn or likes tomatoes, whatever it is, toppings,
Sure.
You could even do your own topping bar to really get the kids involved.
You can do just a basic, you know, the Impossible meat or the beef if you choose to do so, and your cheese. And then, like you said, have a topping station, and people come by and dress it however they like to dress it. And there you have it. But for the toppings that we have when it comes out, I have avocado, which is your favorite. I got the diced tomatoes, and these are like you know, nice vine ripened tomatoes right here. You want to get these tomatoes, you'll notice such a difference in the flavor compared to, you know, the ones that are, you know, a little bit more economical. These, you pay the few extra pennies on it, and you'll taste the difference. It's such a big difference. It has a sweetness to it and everything. So we have scallions. I got some lime. I got the avocado and a little bell pepper, and we're good to go. So look at this now. It's already melted up nicely. Look how quick that was. So you can take a look at that, see how nice and melted that is. So what I'm going to do now at this point is I'm going to take, I got my avocados. I'm going to split those avocados, distribute those over the top nicely. I have my diced tomato. I'm going to sprinkle those throughout. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, you know, some people like, you know, Bill doesn't like cilantro. So I'm just going to pinch a little bundle of it off and sit it in the corner right here. For those that like it to have a little bit more of a citrus bite, I have some fresh lime. I'll put that in the corner. For those that like it hot, I got some jalapenos, and I'm going to sit over here. And then lastly, I just have some sour cream that I thinned out a little bit with some water, put it in a squeeze bottle, and we're going to put a nice little design on here. Now the scallions, let them rain, and we're done. So now we'll take a look at how the end product is.
If only I could reach through that screen. Again, I guess that is impossible, but these impossible nachos are now within reach because you've given us the recipe and taken us through the journey. Thank you so much, Ausar. They look delicious.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Executive Chef Ausar AriAnkh, the kitchen magician. We shared that recipe with us, and we'll have it posted later today on WTVR.com/VTM. Man, I want nachos right now.
Well,
yes,
that
I do.
looks like a really good second breakfast option. Man. His looks so much fancier than mine. I mean, every time he cooks, I'm just like, okay, I've got to get some more dishes, some more color, all the things, so I can just try to at least keep up a little bit.
The incredible thing about Ausar, I really feel like, Andreas, is that he makes it so approachable, and you always learn something because he's so generous in sharing his knowledge. Like, I was not kidding as I was drooling and watching him put that together. I've been going about this all wrong. You got to put the cheese on the chip first, like he said, so that it has all the toppings have something to adhere to. So little tricks that he shares are awesome.
Okay, so I have two questions. One, have you tried the Impossible meat? I keep hearing about it, but I've not tried it yet, and I want to know, how is it?
And I have a subset question off of have I tried it? My mother, watching this morning, good morning, Mom, just texted and said, what is Impossible meat? And I don't think she heard Ausar answer that at the beginning. It's a plant-based non-meat. So it's that meat, right, that they're using, I think, in certain burger chain restaurant hamburgers. I haven't tried it, but Ausar said it was fantastic, and it looks like it cooks right up, just like if you were using ground beef or ground pork.
Yeah, I think if you put them side by side, you might not even know the difference. So that's cool. I've got to try that. I think, okay. So my second question is, what is your favorite nacho topping?
Avocado.
Okay. Pico de
Wait, I
gallo
guess
is mine.
Pico de gallo is yours?
Yes. Pico. I love pico. It doesn't even have to be nacho related. I just love pico. And my mom, one of her new quarantine skills, she can make the best pico de gallo. So
Ooh.
we're all winning. So I think between your avocado, the Impossible meat, the homemade pico, I think we got something going on.
We got it. And I know we have to move on, but I just want to say that's assuming it's already drowning in cheese with some beans and some meat or Impossible meat on it. Then you add the avocado.
Yes.
That's my favorite.
Right. I mean, we can't get ahead of ourselves, but we'll, yeah.